He was earlier.
Hey, welcome everybody. Jeff Prather on the Prather Point. I'm going to skip my usual intro because I don't have a lot of time with my guest, although we're having some communications problems. It's Pardon Dr. Lakin, the Army MD that defied Obama. We'll also be talking Army MD Terry Lakin asked pardon for Obama's birth certificate. Inflection Point Army to build gold refineries. Whistleblower TPUSA is working with MOSSAD. And ERIKA slams CANDACE to defend the TPUSA family show instead. And the cell tower ping proves coal was not there. So really happy and proud to have my guest, who is actually my doc as well, and a fellow Army officer, Dr. Terry Lakin, is a physician and former United States Army Lieutenant Colonel who served from 1991 until 2011. Graduated from Kansas City University College of Osteopathic Medicine in 93, had a 17-year military career holding key positions such as brigade and squadron flight surgeon in combat zones and chief of outpatient medicine at the Pentagon with expertise in family medicine and occupational environmental medicine. And in 2010, he gained national attention when he refused deployment due to his doubts about Obama's constitutional eligibility for office, specifically questioning the lack of a birth certificate. And he has suffered that and went to prison for that. Extremely ethical man. And there is a recent Substack out about his new book, Officer's Oath. And you can get that at terrylakin.com, officersoath.com, or terrylakin.com. Lakin has reacted with disgust about the seditious sticks from his perspective. These 6 Democratic members, especially Mark Kelly, who is a military member, called for military personnel to disobey orders, where Lakin, by contrast, proceeded with caution, finally taking one bold step he thought would force the president to respond. He conditioned his second deployment to Afghanistan on Obama's willingness to produce his birth certificate. But the judge ignored that completely. And the media finally found a military person they don't like. The media found a military protester they didn't like. And a diligent researcher, Lieutenant Colonel Lakin, knew about the holes in Obama's birth narrative, knew about the Berg suite, and knew Obama's attorneys at Perkins Coie in Phoenix, the sponsors of the Steele dossier, and invested considerable time and money fighting all efforts to get all the facts in the case, and believed the oath he took as an officer of the United States Army to defend the Constitution mandated to seek the truth. When asked Lakin what drove him to do what he did, he told of an exchange that occurred during his intake assessment and asked him why he thought Obama was born outside the United States. Lakin corrected the psychologist. He explained that he did not know where Obama was born or whether he was eligible to be president. The problem, he informed the psychologist, was that no one did. Mainstream journalists like Maureen Dowd, had refused to do their job. As a result, concerned citizens like Lakin knew more about the president's background than did America's newsrooms. Lakin was down to his last 2 weeks in prison in 2011 when Obama produced at least a facsimile of a long-form birth certificate that has been since disproven. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who actually bodyguarded, did that as well. But anyway, I don't know if you can hear me now, Terry. Are you able to hear me now?
I am, yes.
Oh, great. All right, we fixed that. Excellent. Yes.
Missed the first part, but thank you for the kind words and everything.
No, not at all. So you are a great doc. You are my personal doc. You are always patient and compassionate, even if we call you on emergencies, but you are an experienced senior field grade Army officer above my rank, but you are extremely moral, and you really took issue with this. And when I found out about this, I shook your hand. And so how long were you in Leavenworth?
I had a 6-month sentence and I got 30 days off for good behavior, I guess. So total of 5 months.
Wow. And then you were dishonorably discharged. So they denied your medical license in Kansas. Is that right?
Well, yes, with the court martial, I was dismissed as an officer, which is the equivalent of a dishonorable discharge for enlisted, and lost all rank, all awards, all, entitlement for any kind of retirement. And I was still licensed in Colorado. I'd been licensed in Colorado for 15 years prior to the court martial, and they still understood that it wasn't a medical issue. But when I applied for a Kansas license initially about 12 years ago, they actually, the board had been appointed by Kathleen Sebelius, pretty much, who was a governor at the time, and got appointed as Obama's Health and Human Services cabinet member. And so there was a lot of bias there, and they used my court martial as saying that I left soldiers dead on the battlefield and refused to treat them. But so I
That's
recently,
that's such an insult.
it was, and it was just totally political. And they, I had letters from patients and
Well, you had letters from
military
three
officers.
generals, didn't you?
I did.
Three general
Yeah.
officers.
Two general officers that were retired, and I had met with them prior to my court martial, and they said that this is something that general officers should be taken care of, not some lowly lieutenant colonel. And it was a question that needed to be answered. And when I tried to, when I saw that a lot of people that were trying to get the answers losing in civilian courts, the judges were saying that people didn't have any standing to ask about Obama's credentials. They also they didn't say that they said the case wasn't ripe because the election hadn't taken prior yet. And then even after the election, the judges were saying that it was a moot point because Obama was elected already. So the answers regarding this have just been horrible, and a lot of people have been trying to shine a light on this. When I realized all this was going on, and I had about 2 years left before I could retire, I thought that I would just do my time and retire. But when I came under Obama's surge orders to Afghanistan, I felt that then I was being ordered to a combat zone by a commander-in-chief that had not proven that he was eligible to be my commander-in-chief.
And you were right. Sheriff Arpaio, former DEA SAC, proved the birth certificate to be forensically false. And of course, now we know that Obama was a longtime recruit of the CIA, probably when he went to Pakistan as a student. But why at the court martial did they not allow evidence of the lack of a birth certificate to be brought in?
My only hope was in the process leading up to the court martial, where they, kind of a grand jury, or they have an investigating officer, and that's the point where I can enter in what kind of depositions or subpoenas or things that I want to enter into evidence. But that investigating officer said that none of my stuff mattered, and the judge agreed with them. And so when I went into the court martial, I had no defense. I wasn't even allowed to have the retired generals as character references, or even enter their letters of support. So the court martial was just a formality to give me a sentence. It was lost well before the court martial.
That sounds the investigating officer and the courts martial sound very much like the Merit Service Protection Board with me and the DEA investigating officer. They were both aligned, because I was fired 1 year from retirement from DEA. I've got my military retirement, I've got my federal retirement, but not my special agent retirement. But the investigating officer is supposed to be independent, but obviously he was not.
Well, yeah, obviously some of them, just wanted to go along to get along. But it is a valid question, I think, that needs to be answered. And even when the Supreme Court refused to hear Kirshner versus Obama case, that was, that's a thing that I think they should have done. They should be reaching down and helping us out with these constitutional questions. But since
and you referenced another Hawaiian birth certificate issue. What was that?
Well, yes, when I started learning about this, I was stationed in the DC area. I lived in there. I worked at Aberdeen Proving Ground, and there were some freedom rallies down in the DC, the grounds of the Capitol, and I went down there. I listened to Ambassador Alan Keyes speak and say that he ran against Obama as a state senator, and that back then they knew that he wasn't a citizen or that he had been foreign born, but he could never track down the videotapes of Obama saying that. I did listen to Mickey Booth. Mickey Booth was born in Hawaii. She's written a couple books on community activism, but she called herself the birther princess and just a wonderful lady. I listened to her go up on the podium and hold up her birth certificate and say, "This is my birth certificate around the same years as Obama, and I have one. How come Obama doesn't?" And there's lots of other articles and people trying to bring this to light. There was a few active duty soldiers that got relieved of duty. A lieutenant that was kind of on reserve active duty, but they called him back to reserves, and he was trying to raise an issue about this. Another guy that was being deployed with a security clearance, a lieutenant colonel, and they withdrew his orders, and he'd had no standing then. So I thought I was the only one that would have standing as a active duty officer that's being, sorry, but is being deployed by his orders. And somewhere along the line, some of the lawyers have said that Obama wasn't ordering me directly to go into combat. He was ordering the unit, or, somewhere in the national chain of command, that Obama doesn't have a tie to that. So, the arguments are just overwhelming that we need to find this answer.
We still need, well, we have the answer, but no one will face the answer because the whole government was in on it. The CIA ran a coup on the United States government like they've run other coups. Again, that's my basis of my longtime experience in the intelligence community is Obama was recruited by the CIA in college when he went to his illegal roommate took him back to Pakistan. Who goes on, yeah, let's go to Pakistan for a college vacation.
It is. It's just so strange. I used, when the Seditious Six came out a week or two ago, I was just appalled that they were calling for enlisted soldiers or anybody in service to disobey orders. And that is so contrary to what an officer should do. I mean, the enlisted do have an oath to obey the president and the officers above them. The officer's oath is much different. It says, "I will obey and protect and defend the Constitution."
Yes.
Not that I will obey the president. Our job as officers is to protect and defend the Constitution.
That's great. That's a very important difference to highlight, and explain a little bit why it is like that.
Well, I mean, enlisted are the backbone of the military. They're the workhorses, but more trained and more leadership and higher levels of authority, but they're the ones that should be taking care of the soldiers beneath them. And every time I got promoted, it was swearing my officer's oath again, and it means more and more as you learn about it. And when I took the oath as a lieutenant colonel, I knew what it meant. It was to protect and defend the Constitution. When I questioned this, and I did every means that I could legally, I went through my chain of command, and I was actually at 2 chain of commands. I formulated a letter to them asking them to just come out and say that Obama is a legitimate commander-in-chief. And one commander had the general's lawyer talk to me and say, "Terry, don't question this because bad things happen. Your brakes will go out or you disappear or something will happen to you."
Wow.
And that's what my command said.
That's a threat.
Yeah, didn't put it in writing, but they just dismissed my complaint. I was then transferred to the Pentagon and had a good job there. I was chief of outpatient care at the DeLorenzo Clinic at the Pentagon, and that's when I came under orders. But even before I came under orders, I wrote a letter to General Casey, who was on the floor above me, chief of staff of the Army. in my letter, I again asked him to, be in my chain of command and to come out and publicly say that Obama is a valid commander in chief based on his constitutional requirements. And his lawyer came down and gave me a letter and said that General Casey is not in my chain of command and therefore he doesn't have to answer me. So technically, I guess he wasn't. I had to go to a lieutenant colonel who was my company commander. But at that time, I came under orders and I decided to take a stand. And I had my bags packed. I was ready to go. I I like deployments. I don't like being away from the family, but I thought I specialized in deployment medicine, and my bags were packed. If Obama would have came out with a birth certificate or some other means to validate that he was eligible, and he didn't. So I took the stand of undergoing a court martial and perhaps opening up a discovery that I could prior to my court martial, and it was a long shot. I thought that I would likely lose, but the alternative of deploying under a commander that may not be eligible bothered me even more.
Well, you were right. And also the ROE, the rules of engagement, were terrible. They were more strict than police ROE CONUS in the continental United States, and got a lot of troops killed. And of course, Obama built ISIS. He basically created the Islamic State of Syria and Iraq as well.
Yeah.
What did your immediate chain of command, your lieutenant colonel, did he back you or no?
Yeah, no. We had some counseling sessions before when I told him my concerns, and he was kind of the same level of saying, well, where did I think he was born? And I'm like, sir, it's not my job. Nobody knows where he's born. And since I was in the Pentagon, I went over and I visited with my congressional members, congressmen and senators, and I talked with their senior staff and their senior staffers that were senior members on the constitutional and the judiciary committees. They said that they knew something was wrong with Obama, but the media wouldn't do anything about it. So that doesn't give me any faith in our congressional leaders either when they rely on the media to investigate. And so
now you've submitted a pardon request under President Trump.
I did. I had submitted a request for a pardon under Trump 1.0, and that was there, for his, the last 3 years of his term, and no action was taken on it. And I understand he was busy. It was still active all through the Obama administration, and then I just found out earlier this year that Obama had denied it in 2023. So I probably got denied by the auto pen. And so I had to regenerate that request for pardon, and
you got under Biden's auto pen?
Probably.
Yeah, well, then that denial, since Trump has reversed all of the auto pen signatures, then that should be invalid.
Well, I assume it was the auto pen, but the pardon packet stays there without any action until action is taken. And I did find out that Biden had denied it, so I had to regenerate it and submit it again under President Trump 2.0. So,
but with all the J6 pardons now it becomes particularly I don't know what the word is, more than irritating.
Well, I knew that I had to regenerate the pardon application when President Trump was elected. I thought that I'd have a few months to do it, wait for him to take care of the J6ers and other people, and he did that on day one. So I've been kind of slow in getting my application in, but it is in now. And Jack Cashel was nice enough to write a good article about it.
Yeah, and the book. Tell us about Officer's Oath.
Well, it came about as I got out of Leavenworth, and I just wanted to fade away, take care of my family, and raised them in a Christian manner. I didn't want to go on any public speaking tours, but then I got a phone call from Jack Cashel, and Jack Cashel is a wonderful author. He's written a lot of these kind of books of telling people's story, and he helped me generate the book, and we've had that out from about a year or two after I got out of prison, and I've maintained the websites. Just I don't like the limelight. I don't like public speaking, but I got the story in print, and so now now it can't be destroyed.
No, and I know I can empathize with you because I still have dreams or nightmares about being fired by DEA because a lot of our identity is inside our roles, and especially the military profession role. So I can empathize at how much that affected you and still must affect you.
Yeah, it's been a tough decade. Especially I had a good practice. I joined in Colorado and, proved myself to them right away after getting out of the Army, after getting out of Leavenworth. And they put me in a leadership position with the urgent care. And then they quickly gave me the occupational medicine clinic. And I supervised 3 urgent cares and became a vice president of their board. And we had about 120 employees and made a good run of that for 10 years. And then, Colorado has just become too politically left. And I didn't think my family was safe there. So we left Colorado about 4 years ago.
Yeah, just about the time I left Arizona.
Yeah. Okay.
And so then you ended up with Dr. Meehan.
I did. I met Dr. Meehan maybe 4 years ago at a reawakening tour by Clay Clark in Branson. And I actually met Mickey Booth there. Mickey Booth, the birther princess, wonderful lady. She edged her way in so I could talk with Dr. Meehan. And, I loved his practice. I loved what he was doing. And I spent the next 2 years kind of focusing on getting the ability to come work for him. And so about 2 years ago, I was able to come meet with him, and I thought it was an interview, and he had an office picked out for me. So,
oh, that's awesome. No, that's great. Serendipitous providence, divine providence, I think as well. Yeah, because he was speaking at the first one. I was speaking at the first one. I've been actually interviewed by Alan Keyes, kind of an honor because he's kind of somebody I've always looked up to as well. So you're recovering well from all of this.
Well, yeah, I'm I love seeing patients. That's my passion. I love talking to patients. I think it's a skill that I've developed over 30 years, and I think I'm pretty good at it. I don't like the paperwork, but
I think you're great at it, and I can testify that. And for me, my wife, my kids, and what's really interesting is, although you are a medical doctor, you're very open to alternative therapies as well, and you include those in your practice, and you're always on top of the cutting edge. That's how I tried the true dose thing as well, and you're always incorporating all of that. I mean, how would you describe your practice now?
Well, Dr. Meehan was decades ahead of us in functional medicine. Functional medicine is looking for the root cause. It's open to off-label use of medications, and I think there's been a lot of mainstream medicine lost their focus. Now they just want to treat systems and treat them with pills and drive on. But no, we want to find the root cause. We want to keep people healthy, and we want them to use natural nutrition, which is best means. And Dr. Meehan was doing this a decade or more ago, and he was incredible, brilliant provider. And I loved him and Kathy. They started a great clinic. They have a wonderful staff. But unfortunately, Dr. Meehan had a very aggressive tongue cancer and passed away about a year ago. And
that really shocked us all. Yes,
it did. But Kathy, she understands that Jim had a passion to take care of kids and kept the clinic open, and she has a great, wonderful Mindset Kids program. We take care of
Yeah,
kids
actually,
in
last
afternoons.
time you were on, it was you and Kathy talking about the Mindset Kids because you were debuting it, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, it's a wonderful program for families and their kids, and I usually take care of the mother and father for functional medicine, and then the kids we do natural things with them as appropriate, and I think we're love talking to parents that are freedom fighters too.
Yeah, and you are so patient and giving of your time. I know because my wife has called you on weekends and stuff because she's always worried about me, and so we're so appreciative of that. Um,
Thank you.
so, so where do you see medicine going? Functional medicine going in the future? Is what you're doing now really the future of medicine? Because not only is Western medicine corrupted, but I think it's also weaponized. So
You're
people are
right.
going to find alternatives. Those that live will have to find alternatives.
No, no, you're right. Medicine took the wrong turn. Um, I I do specialize in treating long haul COVID, and that morphed into vaccine injuries, and that vaccine is a big poison for us. So I I have a lot of vaccine injured patients, and unfortunately, it's become a lot of turbo cancers because of that. And I would say that we're kind of becoming a we try and offer people complementary things to what they want to do for their cancer, and it's just getting too busy with that too. But what we can do now with technology of genomics and gut microbiome is incredible, and also the peptide therapies is just another branch of medicine that has been sequestered, and I think people are waking up to that, the powers of that.
And something else that's very unique about your approach is you want us to make the decisions. You don't dictate. I know when you were first working with my wife, she was a little bit frustrated because she's like, well, okay, what is it? What's the answer? And you're like, nope, here's the options. Here's solutions, but you decide.
Yeah. No, yeah, the patient knows their body better than anybody, and I I try and give them the best options and the risk and the benefits of each, and we approach things in a safe way.
Well, you most certainly do, and I know that you are going to have to. You got a patient call here at 1:30. Um, so officersoath.com is where you can get the book. Lakin.com is also the same site. And if you want to get Terry as your doc, like I do, and if I just recommended some folks to you. In fact, you saw them a while back. Um, so the wife had aggressive cancer, and you were very helpful. They were very happy and reassured by that consultation, by the way. But it's mehanmd.com as well. And what else am I missing?
Um, no, we have the great Mindset Kids program. If people have kids and they're not happy with their current, pediatric clinics that are forcing medicines on them, that'd be so. We try
Yeah,
and give them that option.
forcing vaccines and jabs that are going to poison them. Yeah, very,
Yeah.
very good point. Very good point. Um, oh, one question here, Doc. You should look into frequency healing. Are you doing anything with frequency healing?
We're trying. Yes, that's very intriguing, and I'm kind of overwhelming patients with all the different modalities that we have available. So, um, that's something that we have advocated, and we have some sources for people to do that. Um,
But the
Hyperbaric
great
air.
thing is you offer, but you evaluate also. You're like, oh, I don't think this one's going to work for you. You're very custom in that approach. Is something else I appreciate very much.
Yeah, yeah. We try and test and not guess, but sometimes testing can be super expensive, and if there's safe alternatives or complementary things, then we give it a try. And hyperbaric air and hyperbaric oxygen is incredible. We dabble into ozone, and we do some other IV therapies that are kind of out, just cutting edge, and we're doing research on those now too. So
So, somebody's asking about chlorine dioxide.
Yeah, another great thing. Yeah.
Doc,
Right.
all respect to you for standing up for your beliefs. It takes great courage to do so, no doubt. And that's from Lewis there.
Well,
One
thank
other
you.
question. Orgone energy. Orgone energy?
That's one I've heard about, haven't looked into it. Well,
Mm.
but we have a great staff here, and we're constantly finding new things. And I think the cracks in the wall are happening. People are getting information about this, and getting true information about vaccines now too. So
No, I think this is definitely the future of medicine. Definitely,
yeah,
definitely. And
it
people
looks great.
can communicate with you remotely as well, right? They don't have to be in Tulsa.
Yes, yeah, we have telemedicine in all 50 states. So
Excellent. Well, I know you got to go.
yes.
So thank you again for everything you do for me and my family, and for your courage there. And of course, we'll be staying in touch and praying that President Trump will pardon you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Jeffrey.
Thank you so much. God
God
bless.
bless. Bye.
Okay, there's the great Terry Langer, great man. I'm just really in awe of him. Very, very brave man. Health model instead of a business model. Yeah, that is very well said. Give me some of that. Very well said. So I wanted. I only had Terry for a half an hour there, but I mean, he's so kind and so compassionate. I can't say enough good things about him. So moving on, there's a whistleblower from TPUSA who says that Turning Point has been working with MOSSAD for 4 to 5 years. Joshua Peterson's video testimony, which you can see on X at the skiff, talks about transporting underage recruits to bars using stripper vans with poles in them, and taking these guys out to get drunk. He said, well, this didn't fit in with the Christian image of the organization. And then they'd take them, of course, they'd get them drunk, and then they'd take them out to interview them. And they were asking him about Israel, and they were asking him about MOSSAD. And they then admitted that they were MOSSAD, and they'd been working with TPUSA for 4 to 5 years. And of course, the stripper vans, you bring the strippers in, then of course you photograph them. It's the same Epstein Island in a van, which was not really required in his instance at this time. But this building on Josh's previous claims to a secret TPUSA stock market branch handling over $5 million with 0 listed employees, potentially money laundering, and suggest an inner circle opposed founder Charlie Kirk and were working directly against him. And Josh is now allegedly facing backlash and threats to keep quiet on his experience and insider knowledge. But this fits in with everything else that we have thought, that Candace has uncovered, that Tucker has illustrated, that I have pointed out. And it's interesting that ERIKA Kirk just went scorched earth on Candace Owens, and not one of Candace's points interests ERIKA. Of all the things she's bringing up about the inconsistencies about the assassination, and none of the myriad inconsistencies intrigues her. She is simply interested in protecting her show family, which is what she calls them. There's only one explanation for such bizarre behavior, and it corresponds with her being pregnant post Charlie's kill. She is in on it. And I can tell you, as someone who's been betrayed over and over again, it's always those closest to you. With me, it was always those closest. And of course, that's the way it was with Jesus and Judas as well. Because podcast host Candace Owen has suggested the French government, Israel, Netanyahu, Jewish donors, U.S. government, deep state, TPUSA leadership, ERIKA Kirk, and many others are to blame for Charlie Kirk's assassination. There's lots of evidence of that. There's lots of intelligence of that. And without mentioning her name, ERIKA Kirk went scorched earth on a podcast host Candace Owens for making hundreds and thousands of dollars and going after her TPUSA family. And And Tim Pool cussed her out last week as well. So there's also I was posting on this and X and had a lot of response. Tim Pool has been called out as a fraud as well, saying his house got shut up. He had to have lots of security. And there was a guy who said, no, there was no security there. There were no bullet holes there. There was a guy naked in the bedroom. But, that's what you're going to get when you get a guy with a watch cap and skateboard Earl Jackson says Tim Fool. Yes. But the way he degraded and cussed and cursed ERIKA Kirk, and she said, you're not on testosterone, you're on estrogen. You're not a real man is exactly the truth about somebody like that. And by the way, if you want to debate me on X, I'm fine with that. If you want to degrade me, then I'll just, block you. But she says the real $1 billion question is how much money has Candace Owens made? And she said, here's my breaking point. Come after me, call me names. I don't care. Call me what you want. Go down that rabbit hole. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, which is interesting, that the way she is saying that, at least to me, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love and you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars in every single episode, I love that going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this. No. So she's ignoring all the inconsistencies, all the evidence, all the evidence that shows that it wasn't a 30-06, that that's an exit wound, not an entry wound. All the commentators, all the ballistics experts, all the forensics experts, everything, none of that matters to her. What matters to her is the attack, not even on her family of her kids, but her show family. I just think it's very interesting to say that, her show family. And so that, and also that she's pregnant. Of course, there's rumors that is Vance's. That would go along with the way she was rubbing her hands in his hair. He had his hands on his hips. And going to Candace's exposés, where Candace dropped an explosive 30 minutes that a 35-year military whistleblower, Harry Myers, since changed his name, walked into a classified final briefing at Fort Huachuca on September 9th, 2025. Literally the same day that Charlie was murdered. And there were a lot of lieutenant colonels there. She mistakenly said E6s. She meant O6s. And TPUSA security contractor Brian Harple walking out with a gray-haired boss and the officer who personally interrogated Harry for 7 straight hours, Captain Neff. And this Captain Neff, or newly promoted Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Neff, is allegedly the first cousin of Blake Neff, Charlie Kirk's longtime producer at Turning Point. And they produce the receipts and the details of this, and that he aligns with force protection, base security. And this all appears to be legitimate. This man ran a 7-hour interrogation to cover the tracks of the meeting that Harry believes greenlit Charlie Kirk's assassination, because 35 years before, he had been present when they were putting ground surveillance radars, GSR radars, out on the Arizona border via Task Force 6, Joint Task Force 6, JTF 6. So a lot of people have asked me about this because the early 90s, I was working on the border, and I did work with JTF 6. And of course, as a military intelligence officer, I first trained at Fort Huachuca, and later I taught at Fort Huachuca, both as an officer and as a contractor later on. So I'm very, very familiar with JTF 6. I'm also very familiar with the Douglas Tunnel that they were referenced at that time, because I've worked a lot of tunnels. And so everything that Candace is saying or relaying through this Harry Myers that has changed his name now is legitimate as far as I can tell, and certainly based upon my experience as well. And so we're seeing a whole new way of exposing the deep state emerged because, of course, the FBI is corrupt and it's the cover team for the deep state. Again, the deep state being the Praetorian Guard that run who gets to preside over us, whether it's Pedo Joe or Trump. Mostly the Praetorian Guard domestically is the Department of Justice and the FBI and Attorney General. And the overseas arm of the deep state, which becomes the global cabal, like the Five Eyes, is the CIA and the intelligence community, accessing the dark economy by diplomatic pouch, running human beings, children now, weapons, and drugs. So deep state, global cabal, dark economy are terms that I use quite a bit. And another sad area there is that Trump has approved the export of advanced chips to China that DOJ says would be a national security threat. Trump's decision to approve the export of advanced computer chips to China comes the same day his Justice Department warned the illegal export of the same chips threatens our national security. So this is very concerning because, of course, one of the wars I've declared that Trump is fighting is a tariff war directed not at other countries. That was just window dressing, but it was the first and only counter and a successful counter to China's unrestricted warfare doctrine executed through their Thousand Talents program. And now Trump seems to have completely reversed himself on that. It not only appears to be Israel first, but China first. First, we get the 600,000 more Chinese Thousand Talents agents coming in, but now Trump is going to give China the very chips that the DOJ, which is nothing much from the DOJ anyway, are saying are a security deficit because we are so far ahead on these chips. Both Congress and China experts say even though H200s are not NVIDIA's most powerful product, they are still far more advanced than anything China can currently produce, opening the door for the country to advance its artificial intelligence at a more rapid rate. Right now, China is far behind the United States in chips that power the AI race, the House Select Committee on China said in a statement after the announcement, because the H200s are far better than what China can produce domestically, both in capability and scale. The committee warned that China will likely use these chips beyond commercial applications. Of course they will. So Trump is basically scoring a goal for the other team. These chips are our biggest tech advantage over China. If we give them away, we shouldn't be surprised when China closes the gap and the People's Liberation Army uses them to train to kill Americans. Now, that part I disagree with because, again, that contradicts China's unrestricted warfare policy of going kinetically against the United States. That's just hyperbole as far as I am concerned. But getting Trump to give them state-of-the-art chips is certainly within the exact theme of unrestricted warfare. On Monday, the Department of Justice announced that its Operation Gatekeeper had disrupted a scheme to ship $50 million worth of NVIDIA chips to China and apprehended two businessmen for violating the existing export controls. Prosecutors specifically identified NVIDIA's H200 chip as one of the processors exported to China in the scheme. They described H200 as among the nation's cutting-edge AI technology. China could use contrary to American interest and security, specifically highlighting its military applications. And this is Operation Gatekeeper has exposed a sophisticated smuggling network that threatens our nation's security by funneling cutting-edge AI technology to those who would use it against America. So these chips are the building blocks of AI superiority and are integral to modern military application. The country who controls these chips will control AI technology. The country that controls AI technology will control the future. The Southern District of Texas will aggressively prosecute anyone who attempts to compromise America's technological edge, the prosecutor said. The DOJ announced Monday, after court documents were unsealed, that Haochao Zhu, 43, of Missouri City, and his company, How Global LLC, pleaded guilty to smuggling and unlawful export activities between October 2024 and May 2025. That's corporate espionage. I work in that space. There's so much corporate espionage going on. It is incredible. And this is evidence that China is doing this. The case was unsealed after two men from China, Fanwei Gong, 43, a Chinese citizen who resides in New York City, and Benlin Yuan, 58, a Canadian citizen who resides in Mississauga, Ontario, were charged and arrested by law enforcement on December 3rd in New York City and on November 28th in Sterling, Virginia, respectively. Both Gong and Yuan are citizens of the People's Republic of China. 1,000 talent agents, exactly, executing unrestricted warfare, espionage, corporate espionage. Su and Hao Global purportedly received more than $50 million in wire transfers that originated from China to help fund the scheme. GPUs were ultimately shipped to China, Hong Kong, and other destinations in violation of U.S. export laws, the Justice Department said. Gong and Yuan allegedly conspired with employees of the Hong Kong-based logistics company and a Chinese-based AI technology company to circumvent U.S. export controls, the Justice Department said. And so the problem with this is, while the Justice Department seems to actually be doing its job for once, President Trump is not, and is negating everything that has happened there. And so we don't know why, but it certainly could be a payoff. So, let me know what you think about that, because I was very complimentary of Trump's tariff war as the first and only counter to China's unrestricted war that began after they watched us win the first Gulf War. So very important, but also a very important inflection point, and that is the U.S. Army looks to build small refineries for critical minerals. Now, bear with me on this, because I'm sure most people will not think this is a big intelligence breakthrough, but I do. This could easily be an early move, making the military more stable than our corrupt civilian government that loves to run up debt. It reminds me of Highland Starship Troopers. After the politicians collapsed the government, the veterans took over. But in this case, it would be the military taking over. The U.S. Army is going to develop small-scale refineries to ensure domestic supply of critical minerals for defense and military purposes, as the United States and Western allies look to reduce their dependence on China. This is actually funny, because my dad, being a three-factory owner, and one of them was a Cincinnati Die Casting Steel, I actually went to D.C. And brought concerns about the defense strategic mineral base up way back in the day, before I went into the Army, when I was working for my dad. And they're saying they need to come up with ways to make their own critical minerals domestically, so we can actually monitor and control within our borders. Mark Metzger, a munitions procurement advisor for the U.S. Army, said. The Army is currently developing a project with the Idaho National Laboratory and gold mining company Perpetua Resources to process antimony. In September, the U.S. Army's Joint Program Executive Office Armaments and Ammunition joined Perpetua Resources to launch the Stibnite Gold Project in central Idaho. The project seeks to redevelop an abandoned mine site in Stibnite for gold and antimony sulfide, a critical compound used in ammunition production. The U.S. previously obtained antimony sulfide from foreign sources until 2021, when that supply ended. The Stibnite project currently holds the largest identified reserve of antimony in the U.S. An estimated 148 million pounds is one of the largest antimony reserves outside of foreign control, said Major General John T. Rame, Joint Program Executive Officer, Armaments and Ammunition at the Picatinny Arsenal, and he is the commanding general there. In keeping with the Army's ongoing ground-to-round assured munition strategy to locate and engage with domestic resources, we modernize and fortify the arsenal's democracy. The Trump administration is ensuring funding through buying minority stakes in North American rare earth and lithium companies and projects. So the significance of this is very important. I see this as an inflection point, and this is a long-term prophecy or prediction. First, you're going to see the military, first the National Guard, then the regular military deployed to all of the major failed cities run by Democrats. Those deployments will become permanent, and they will result in increased violence. If you look at the chaos and confusion in a lot of inner cities, particularly in a lot of Black neighborhoods where Blacks have grown up with no father discipline whatsoever, and they just you can't talk to them, they just yell, they never comply if they're being interviewed by the police, and it always results in violence. And that's what they're calling Black fatigue now. That is going to get worse, and it's going to get so bad that the National Guard will be a permanent fixture. And of course, Trump has already said that he wants a QRF National Guard force around, but then the regular military will get involved in this, and this will get more violent. That is, there will be a lot more violence, and violence will become standardized. Now, violence by the thugs and the looters is already standardized. What's not standardized is the response by the military. But down the road, in a decade or two, that is going to happen. That is my prediction there. So the military's increased presence and power domestically is going to grow. When the military establishes refineries for these rare minerals and gold, they are going to become more powerful as well, having their own source of hard currency, gold and minerals, while the federal government continues to spend itself into oblivion and with cyber currencies that mean nothing. So it starts to look a lot like Robert Heinlein's Starship Troopers, where after the politicians destroyed the government, the veterans, except in this case, it looks like the military takes over. And so that's my long-term prediction, and we will see if I am right about that as well. Also, there'll be later on, there'll be areas of the city of the major cities controlled by alternative militia. We're already seeing this happen in Britain and Ireland, where there is a new Irish movement standing up and new British movement who are sick of the Islamic men coming in and raping kids and their women and getting paid for it. And they are resisting that and fighting back. So those forces will coalesce and become organized factions, which will control parts of those cities in Europe in particular. And eventually we'll see those things as well. So that's some long-term strategic predictions and prophecies that you can remember, and we'll see if those pan out. But I see a lot of this in hard sci-fi, military sci-fi as well. And continuing to talk about the military, U.S. forces have intercepted and seized a sanctioned oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. And so I've been saying this for quite some time, is go-fast boats are nice and flashy, but they cannot make the CONUS journey without multiple refueling points, and open cockpits don't indicate extended sailing time. Tankers are the real vectors for the deep state, transporting massive numbers of children, drugs, and weapons via containers. And oil is a strategic resource. This is an escalation and long overdue. Instead of just blowing up all these cigarette boats and go fast boats, I've said, well, why aren't they seizing container ships? Now, this is a tanker ship, but again, the tanker could be a refueling vessel. So this is an inflection point, increasing, it looks like, the war against the global cartel, the global cabal, while Trump is doing nothing against the deep state Praetorian Guard in the FBI and CIA except supporting them. The global cabal, he seems to be fighting to a degree because he is concentrating on Venezuela. Now, there's an old former DEA companion of mine from Snowcap. I think his name is Hathaway, that is now the sheriff in Santa Cruz County. He's like, this is murder. Shouldn't be doing that. Venezuela hasn't done anything to us. This is law enforcement. And that is pure BS. He knows better than that. The cartels have powerful paramilitary and paraintelligence forces. You can never pit law enforcement against military. It doesn't work. It never works. So the cartel wars, where they have been declared terrorist organizations, are again something Trump has done right here, and going after Venezuela as a transshipment point for the dark economy of people, weapons, and drugs is precisely on point. Now he's talking about Colombia as well. So that all makes sense. And that's in our necessary sphere of influence. That is very, very important. Give me some that says an incremental placement of Guard reserve units avoids the complications of all at once, normalizing the presence of these units. Yeah, that's exactly how it's going to, that's how I think it's going to play out. I think it's going to play out quite gradually and slowly. And it's not really seizing power so much as controlling the violence in the cities, because the police won't do it. The police can't do it because they're under the left-wing mayors. All the major cities have been under Democratic rule for 40, 50 years, and those are failed cities. And violence solves everything, and professional military coming in will not solve that, but it will temper that to some degree, and it's going to become a standard in my estimation. Now, the military deploying again to South America off the coast of Venezuela and getting involved, and Trump saying he's got special forces, which is Green Berets, and CIA working inside Venezuela. That is regime change, which is not a good idea, but collapsing those regimes and then letting what emerges emerge is different, at least in my estimation. And that follows on with what the Green Beret horse soldiers did in Afghanistan. They didn't emplace anybody. They just overthrew that government and then let emerge what emerged nationally. Another and final really important point is that Alex Jones, spokesman, said that the cell phone tower ping data reveals that the alleged pipe bomber, the autistic nerd Brian Cole, was not inside the route laid out by the FBI. Now, this gets pretty technical, and so you'll have to go to X to see this, and there's debates on both sides about this. But again, proving that your cell phone is someplace doesn't mean that you're there. And of course, I'm always recommended, for you to get your cell phone Faraday bags at jeffreyprather.com shop. Great gifts. Got these magnetic clips now here that work great. So you can carry your cell phone, but you aren't pinging and you aren't being tracked when you don't want to be. And you can also get the great staybrewed.com coffee or teamamerica.com coffee, or go into the jeffreyprather.com shop and get Prather private label, my coffee in particular, that I got to design. Those are great Christmas gifts, but this certainly throws doubt onto the FBI story. And of course, why should we believe the FBI about anything? We shouldn't, because they are constantly lying to us, constantly spying on us. And having had this data for so long, why are they doing it now? Because they are, framing this guy, because they have a long history of framing autistic and mentally deficient folks. And so this autistic nerd, Brian Cole, fits exactly into that pattern. Why? Because it is a distraction from the former Capitol Police female who went to the CIA and got a job. So we see what is happening there. So that is what is happening today. Not seeing any questions. So I will wrap with my intro poem, since I didn't get it at the beginning. 'Twas the night before reset. Along came Big Pharma, extorting nations to buy all of their pseudo elixir. No choice, just comply. These billionaire bandits reaping profits beaucoup in the last marketplace. All our lands, me and you. They're paving the way to remain bulletproof. The road to enslavement ere fiat goes poof. To keep things afloat while their hustle abounds, they need all our bodies for medical rounds. They've hijacked our healthcare cause all else is kaput. The last vested interest save the ground underfoot. Yes, they'll have that too. They're so making tracks as they ruin our bodies for bucks with the vax. Complete usurpation, the great many unwary. The few that were awake was just a little bit scary. With new petty tyrants building camps as they go, to quell the dissenters, they deploy Gestapo. These weasel enforcers sustain unrest and grief. Pernicious colluders set loose in the fief. Is there no stopping them now? It's so Machiavelli. How many lives will be lost if we don't cry, whoa, Nelly? Those horsemen, those four, their arrival so stealth. It's a war for the world, and the hour's near 12th. It's time to get ready, pray your spirit be led, to prepare for what's coming. Did you hear what I said? Beyond sycophants where the enemy lurks, behind that thin veil, evil lives in the murk. Unleashed on the world until dangers impose, while heavenly hosts bring this age to a close. I bid you take comfort in Paul's Ephesian epistle. Put on all of that armor to confront the abysmal, and never forget that Jesus wins this great fight. Then in your faith ride it out with our Lord God's might. Freedom is never given. It is earned, fought for, won, and taken. So take it.